Welcome back to another edition of State Champs Hockey Time. I'm Jonathon Kidd along with Sean Baligian. State Champs Hockey Time is presented by our friends at the Alta Equipment Company. But first, we want to update you on Sean Baligian's top 25 rankings. You can see it at statechampsnetwork.com. Byron Center is now number 2.
The way that I look at it is there's no harm in tying Northville. Northville obviously is a ranked team. Coach Ossenmacher has done a fantastic job, but you know what? I think maybe that was the difference between Houghton and Byron Center. It was razor thin. I think you talk to a lot of people. Some people might have Houghton at 2. Some people might have Byron Center at 2. I've had Houghton at 2 all year. Byron Center bumps up a little bit, but it's interesting how it works out. And I swear I don't do this on purpose, but the top 3 all happen to be in 3 different divisions as well. And that's interesting how that works itself out. Now, as we know, the favorite doesn't always win. You know, I mean, that's the way it's been for quite some time. I think heading into the playoffs last year, Johnny, Catholic Center was the prohibitive favorite. I think Byron Center was a lot of people's favorite in Division 2. And in Division 3, it seems like everybody's favorite was Houghton. And so it doesn't always work out that way. But right now, in terms of pecking order, I think it's Catholic Central in Division 1, Byron Center in Division 2, and Houghton in Division 3.
With Byron Center and Houghton, they are the only 2 unbeatens left in the state of Michigan.
One of the things that I do when I do these rankings is I try to do it based on the Michigan teams. And that's why, you know, with Catholic Central, I don't count their loss against them because it's not an in-state team per se, but when you take a look at the schedule that these teams play as well, I think Byron Center's schedule has just been a bear in particular. For them to do what they've done, it's pretty stinking cool.
When you look at these rankings, as you were talking about with the schedule and everything, it's kind of like our criteria for player of the year on the wall. It's like the level of competition. You got some teams in here that are barely 500 or just at 500, but they're still in your rankings.
How many times have we seen it, John? I think a lot of times the conference that you play in and the schedule that you play matters. And I think, you know, I'll use the Tom Izzo battle-tested cry. How many times have you seen a team that, you know, maybe if you just look at their win-loss record, you kind of shrug your shoulders and think to yourself, well, there's nothing special. But by the time the playoff rolls around, they've taken some of those lessons along the way, and they've turned those L's into W's. And so that's what I see with a lot of those teams. You know what? I go back to Brother Rice last year. Brother Rice, don't pay attention to the record. I can't tell you how many times I said it last year. Brother Rice was a team to be reckoned with, and I thought when the playoffs started, no disrespect to Byron Center, I still liked Brother Rice when all was said and done, and they actually made me look smart. But at the end of the day, Johnny, for a lot of these teams, dig a little deeper and look at their schedule sometimes, and I think you'll get the answer that you're looking for.
And in the UP, we've talked about Hancock, we've talked about Houghton, we've talked about Marquette. They've been in our rankings. We have another one that cracked the rankings is Sault Ste. Marie at number 19. It's just UP power.
You know what? And that's a team I remember talking to you last week, and we said, you know, they're knocking right on the door, and they promptly went out and knocked off Lumen Christi, who, you know, was a little bit ahead of them in the pecking order. And so, you know what? Common sense. What happens from that point on is then you see the leapfrog. But I think, you know, by virtue of the way they're playing, they have an 8-game unbeaten streak at 7-0-1. It's pretty hard to deny when a team is doing that, especially, you know, when you take into consideration, again, some of the caliber of opponent that they play. So, no doubt about it. This is a big year. I mean, you're talking about 4 teams from the UP in the top 19. I think they all belong. Hancock has been such a great story all year. I think Hancock's knocking on the door. Couldn't keep Marquette out any longer. I mean, it's 14 straight wins, Johnny. They came out of the gate slowly. Obviously, they got Reapy back, and that's a big factor. But I think the maturation of their fine defense, and we saw him in person at Traverse City last weekend. Moyer, I think this is a kid, by all accounts, has been going like this all year. So I'll tell you what, you saw Marquette play. They're going to be tough for anybody in Division III to beat.
To my neck of the woods, you know, the talk's been about Trenton, River Gaber Richard, and Allen Park. There's Grosse. You know, they won 10 straight, and they're still in your rankings at 23.
You have to give a team credit. You know, when you put up that caliber of record, and you have a guy like Fisher Gurney lighting it up, you have to give them credit. I know AP was in the rankings for a while, and we all know the goaltender that they have. I'm going to say it again. Listen, I think BC's the team to beat. I think Trenton's not too far behind him. I like that team. I said it all year long. Saw a bunch of them in the summer. I think the talent is there. They have shown they can play with anybody, so it's going to be really, really fun to see how that transpires. I think Division II is going to be very, very intriguing.
All right, it's time now for our Coaches Corner, brought to you by our friends at the Michigan High School Hockey Coaches Association. I am joined today by the head coach at Grosse High School, Jason Durbin. Jason, welcome to Hockey Time.
Thanks for having me.
All right, you guys are off to a great start to the season. You guys are ranked 23rd in Sean Baligian's rankings. Just talk about your season so far this year.
We returned a lot of the same players from last year and, added a few additions that are making an immediate impact for us. And the kids have been buying into what we've been telling them for, the last 2-3 years. And, we're scoring more goals, I think, this year than what we had last year. And, the kids are just having fun and we're enjoying it. It's been a fun ride so far. And, our top guys are our top guys on most nights of our game action. And, that's what you need to be able to win hockey games at the high school level.
Talk about the competition in the Metro Division, in both the East and the West Division.
Yeah, it's fairly competitive. In years past, I think it was a lot easier to say that, the East was stronger than the West Division. And you look at some of the teams that are in both sides and, our side's competitive, their side's competitive. And sometimes we get teams that cross over and play each other, and they're competitive games. And, it's fun, and we do a pretty good job of, each year we sit down as a league and, maybe somebody wants to go from one division to the next. We have those types of discussions at the end of every year. And, the last couple of years it stayed the same. And, Ann Arbor, Gabriel Richard I think they won it the West Division, that is, they won it the last 3 years in a row. And, on the other side, you had, Gabriel Richard, winning it at times, Detroit Country Day winning it at times. This year, Allen Park's back in the mix and University of Liggett on that side. So it's very competitive, I think.
You guys are heading to Chelsea for the showcase this weekend. Just talk about the opportunity to play in front of a bunch of teams and scouts.
Yeah, this is our first year of going to the Chelsea/public showcase. And, we're excited, playing a couple of teams. And first game is going to be against West Ottawa from the west side of the state. And then our second game is against Escanaba. It was something that I knew that our team this year going into it needed. And it's nice to be able to play teams, outside of, southeastern Michigan, of all the teams that we have around here. So it's nice to get out and play some different teams.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jason, for joining us here on Hockey Time, and good luck to you guys the rest of the season.
Thanks for having us, and thank you for what you guys do for high school hockey.
All right. So that was our Coaches Corner, brought to you by our friends at the Michigan High School Hockey Coaches Association. And it's time now for a Wall Award update, brought to you by our friends at Warrior Hockey. So, Sean, we are making a change to the top 10.
Pretty hard to deny this guy. Make no mistake about that. John, I say this all the time. What speaks volumes to me is when other coaches call you. Okay, it's one thing, you're going to get a coach call about his kid, and I respect that. I hope you know I'm not dogging you. I want to hear from you guys. Reach out to me anytime. But when you have multiple guys reach out and say, keep an eye on this guy, or, oh, this guy maybe isn't getting the respect that he deserves. And of course, we're talking about Matt at CC. You know what, Johnny, to me, that speaks volumes. It's not easy being the goaltender at Catholic Central. And what I mean by that is, what people say, Oh, they're so deep. Oh, they've got such a good defense core. Oh, you could put anybody in there. This kid has been stellar. When called upon to make the big stops, he's made the big stops. When called upon to make that quality save, he's made the quality save. And again, I can't stress this enough, when opposing coaches are calling you and saying, this kid's special, we have to listen to that.
You can cast your vote for the top 10 at our website at statechampsnetwork.com. And that was our Wall Award update brought to you by our friends at Warrior Hockey.
Attention State Champs Nation! Applications are being accepted right now for the Detroit Athletic Club Foundation's Male and Female Michigan High School Athlete of the Year Awards. If you are a recognized first-team All-State athlete in a sport or projected to be one this school year, if you have at least an overall 3.0 GPA, and if you have demonstrated leadership through the school or as a community volunteer, we want you to apply. 6 male and 6 female student athletes will be nominated and each awarded $1,000 towards college expenses. The winners will receive $5,000 each. The 27th Athlete of the Year Awards will take place at the Detroit Athletic Club the evening of Monday, June 3rd, and streamed live on the State Champs Sports Network. Nomination applications will be accepted through Friday, March 31st, and this is important. You cannot be nominated if you do not apply. Download the application today at dacathleteoftheyear.com. That's dacathleteoftheyear.com.
It's time now for our Warrior Hockey Player of the Year update. So, Sean, no changes to the top 10 this week, but we don't have the watch list anymore. But we do want to talk about a few that are just almost there to make the top 10.
There, you know what? That was a brilliant idea by you. And I don't know if you want to mention each one. I think there are 4 or 5 guys that are right there right now knocking on the door. And to me, one of the things that jump out, at least we're staying consistent if you've watched this show over the years, the beautiful thing about a showcase is you get to showcase not only this great product, but you get to showcase your team and you get to showcase the talent on your team. And so I like to see how the teams match up against one another and how some of the top players match up against one another. We're going to get an opportunity to see all these guys, literally all these guys in the next week. And to see how they stack up against top competition is going to be really fun because again, Johnny, I think there are 4 or 5 names that are right there waiting for, and I say this all the time, I'm not saying a guy to slip as much as to leapfrog somebody, because if a guy's playing here, how do you take him off? You got to go like that, and you got to elevate your game. And I think, you know, John, we've kind of called the showcase moving week for the last few years, and I think it'll be moving week again this year.
You can cast your vote for the top 10 on our website at statechampsnetwork.com. The leading vote getter will never get removed from the top 10. And that was our Warrior Hockey Player of the Year update. Let's preview the week ahead in high school hockey. And Sean, it's the Chelsea Showcase this weekend.
We've had the opportunity to go out there a few times. I'm going to try to get out there, you know, business schedule and life and everything. But there's some darn good games on the docket. One that jumps out to me on Thursday on the South Rink, Skyline and Bay City. I mean, you're talking about 2 of the best players in the state of Michigan, really. And you know, when you get an opportunity to go head-to-head like that, Johnny, I think you and I always like to look beyond the rankings as well and for some good stories. And St. Clair Shores has been outstanding. They have an 8-game winning streak right now. SCS Unified taking on the Livonia Red Stallions, who they have really picked it up as the season has progressed. Their freshman goaltender, Quinn Pasco, has been really good. I've heard multiple opposing coaches say, wow, that team's playing the right way. So that's an intriguing one on Thursday as well. And folks, if you haven't had a chance to see Marquette yet, you have a chance to see them against South Lyon Unified as well on the North Rink on Thursday.
To see schedules of those games at the Chelsea Showcase, you can go to mihshockeyhub.com. These are the games that are in Sean's top 25 rankings. Number 1, Detroit Catholic Central, and number 8, Trenton.
Well, I love it. This is a fantastic game. It's a big measuring stick for Trenton. I think, again, look, I'm going to say it again. Second time this show. I think Trenton has to be considered one of the favorites in Division II. We're going to see how good they are, and if they can hang with that depth of Catholic Central. Just a great matchup downriver.
Next, we have the M1 Griffins. They're going to be taking on number 4 Clarkson. They're going to play Thursday and Saturday this week.
I think that's fantastic. Good for them. Coach Fox, we've talked about him the last couple of years. He's doing a good job bringing the talent in. Clarkson is absolutely legitimate. They are a poster child. If you do it and you keep doing it, then all of a sudden you go from a cute little story to one of the usual suspects. So certainly Clarkston in that group now of the usual suspects in the high school ranks.
On Friday night, we have a Division III battle as Orchard Lake St. Mary's goes on the road to Flint Powers.
I think Flint Powers is kind of flown under the radar all year. This is a situation, John, with this team right now. They keep getting it done. Aiden Cook's having a monster season in particular, a guy to keep an eye on, when we talk about some of our awards and everything. But I say it all the time. Travis has done such a fantastic job up there for so long. You can never count out Flint Powers. Orchard Lake St. Mary's, I've had them in the top 10 all year. They've got a heck of a lot of talent there. Do the Eaglets. That should be a good game.
UD Jesuit, they're going to be playing Grand Rapids Catholic Central on Friday, and then they're going to be playing their rivals from Warren De La Salle on Saturday.
2 really good matchups for a UDJ team that kind of hit a bump in the road. It happens during the course of the season. Listen, you'd rather have the bumps happen now, and we talked about it earlier, learning from some of those bumps, but I still think that's a heck of a team with a heck of a lot of talent. I was in early on Warren De La Salle. I had a chance to see them play a couple times, and you know what? They've gone out and made me look good. I think they're a top 10 team. GRCC, no doubt about that. Boy, they've got a big weekend as well, so it's going to be fun to see, Johnny, what Mike Slobodnik's team can do and a tremendous goaltender can do against teams of that caliber.
They get to play the Sioux the following day on Saturday.
Yeah, that's huge. That's
and this is what we've been talking about for years, is they don't care if you're in what division they are, they'll play.
I love it. It's great. I think it works out for everybody. I can speak from the media and the fan standpoint. Those are the games that we want to see, no doubt about it. But I think it works out for the teams as well because it shows them, the measuring stick. Where do we measure up in this regard or that regard? So that's pretty cool.
Marquette, they love their travel. They like to travel downstate. They're going to be playing South Lyon Unified on Thursday at the Chelsea Showcase. Go play Brighton on Friday, and then go play Heartland on Saturday.
It's unbelievable. To play 3 games in 3 days like that. I think they did something similar to that last year. And, Doug Garrow, I can't say enough about the way that team plays. Johnny, I'm serious. They are one of the most difficult teams to play against. Yep. We saw it. They make life miserable on you. Every one of those kids, it's the team mentality. They do so many of the little things, and little things mean all the difference in the world. And here it comes when you can roll lines like they do.
The D word.
That's going to make them very dangerous come playoff time.
And now they're in Division III, so they're just going to be in that pecking order of teams that is just going to go through the gauntlet to get to USA.
Well, you know my feelings. Can I get on the soapbox for a second?
Yeah, John.
I haven't done this for a while, but this is perfect time to do it. You might remember years ago, I used to do this seemingly every week. When you had all those great teams under Dan at Hancock, and you had all those great teams under Corey at Houghton, and then, Dan jumped in at Calumet as well. It's a crying shame. An absolute crying shame that arguably the 2 best teams in Division III are going to be facing each other so early in the playoff. It's a shame. I wish there was something we could do to fix it. That involves people smarter than I, which isn't saying much. This microphone might be smarter than I, but I would hope that every person out there would agree with me. There's something wrong when you have 2 of the best teams, period, in Division III, playing each other so early, and one of them is going to have to be knocked out. I think we can fix that. I think we should fix that.
That is it for this week's edition of State Champs Hockey Time. Next week, we're going to be previewing the MIHL Prep Hockey Show.
Oh, I can't wait. Such a fun week. Listen, my favorite week of the year. No disrespect to everything else, well, I mean, of course, the playoffs, but during the year, I mean, my favorite week of the year, it's such a special event. It's the granddaddy of them all, and we'll see you at the rink.
Along with the Fig Noons.
State Champs Hockey Time is presented by Lawrence Technological University. Be curious, make magic. The future of education begins at ltu.edu. State Champs Hockey Time is also presented by Alta Equipment, Michigan's #1 construction equipment provider, proudly representing the industry's top brands. Get the right equipment for your project every time with Alta Equipment. Warrior Hockey is proud to support Michigan High School Hockey Player and Goalie of the Year awards. Warrior Hockey is made for this. The Michigan High School Hockey Coaches Association, celebrating the 50th anniversary of high school hockey in Michigan. For schedule, scores, and standings, go to the hub, mihshockeyhub.com. The Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. And Michigan Army National Guard, proud sponsor of the Michigan High School Athletic Association.